Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Historic Hindsight Presents Tommy's Tirades, where today, Tommy's mad at witches.
That's right, Johnny. I am mad at witches, or more specifically, look, we read, because we're a small enough channel right now, we read every comment. We respond to a lot of the comments.
Oh, yeah.
If you give
Oh,
us,
some
if
of
you
them.
give some of them, if you give us, well, some of them are just odd. Anyways, but if you give us, feedback. We listen to said feedback. If you give us,
Sure. Yeah.
if ideas for new episodes, we listen to those ideas for new episodes. And it's a free country. You can hate us if you want to hate us. You can
That's
like
right.
us if you want to like us. But
Most
if
of
you
you probably do.
hate us for a reason that's stupid, I'm gonna call you out on it. So we got a comment.
All right, so what are you talking about?
Well, we got a comment and somebody hating us and unsubscribing us because they noticed the pentagram on Johnny's bag that's been sitting there since, by the way, can't have been a good fan because that's been there the whole time.
Forever.
The whole time.
That's like it's the only old-looking thing that I had.
yeah.
And I have it because I'm doing it's a long story, but anyway.
Anyways,
Go on.
Johnny made it for his kid for some little witch.
Yeah,
hunt thing.
it's a book I'm doing like a little book thing. It's like a treasure hunt, whatever. It's a whole thing.
It's
But
glorious.
that's the
No.
only reason I have it.
Yeah, and
it's not a symbol that I care about.
No, it's not, and it's
Or
not a
am
symbol
passionate about, or
it's-
know much about.
It's
really.
not a symbol that I care about or am passionate about or know much about. This is why we're doing this episode. But the fact that this person got so upset that they unfriended us because they thought, we were witchcraft supporters or we were demon
Right,
worshippers
yeah.
or Freemasons. Which, I mean, granted, I'm wearing a golf shirt now and because my wife dresses me, but I am very, very poor.
Prove
and
you're
cannot-
you're not a Freemason, Tommy. Prove it.
I am poor and cannot afford to be a Freemason. So I just had to. I felt like, you know what, time to dive into the history.
Also,
of
I
Pentagram.
like that the Freemasons were lumped in with the demon worshippers.
Well,
and
there's
or Satan
actually
worshippers and all that.
a reason why, and we're
Okay.
yeah, we'll get there, Johnny. So the pentagram or the mark of the beast, satanic rituals of the
right.
90s, evoking the evil demon spirits. It actually has a long and diverse history that goes way back, pretty much to almost the origins of human history, and 99.99% repeating is like, it's wishing you well. It's like the peace sign, or it's
Well, so the reason I put it on was when I was looking up a bunch of symbols and stuff for the silly little thing I was doing. It came across as a symbol of like good luck and good fortune or protection. Maybe it was protection.
Protection,
And
good
so,
fortune,
like,
well-being, all that
my
stuff.
Little
Yeah.
character, my character put it on the bag because there were treasures in it and he was protecting them. And so that's what it was for.
Yeah. So,
But eventually, what happened was we had shows like what's that teenage witch?
Sabrina
Not Clarissa
the
Twins at
Teenage
all.
Witch.
Sabrina.
Which, oh,
Sabrina
man.
the Teenage Witch, and then the vampire show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So we had
Slayer,
those, and we had the pentagrams.
The
People started
90s
sacrificing
was
cats.
Yeah, the 90s was a
Halloween.
weird time for, and we'll get up there. We'll get up there. So traditionally, its lineage can actually be traced all the way back through ancient Greece, and the word comes from the Greek word pentagrammon, which literally means 5 lines.
So is the pentagram is the whole pentagram just the stars at the star?
Star
with
and
the
circle, it just depends. It's used. The symbol is used with just the star
same
by
way,
itself, but it's also used with the circle. Sometimes the circle is touching, sometimes it's not touching, and all
Okay.
these things allegedly mean different things. The earliest
Just
known,
up to the artist.
just up to the artist
depiction of it.
style and whatever person's using it for, whatever they decide that they want it to be. The earliest known pentagram symbol has actually been found on Sumerian pottery around 3500 BC. So this
my.
is old. This is like human origins symbol, human
that's
society
like-
origin
yeah.
symbol. Yeah. It was a symbol at that time to represent the city of Babylon and the goddess Inanna or Isthar, depending on however you want to go by her name. She was known as the Queen of Heaven and associated to many fun sexual rites. So I guess maybe that's why. Some people,
as a queen of heaven.
Yeah, there's a Queen of Heaven. This is a time when we
And
had.
she granted sexual rights. What would the
No. She had
example of that be?
She had you'd pray to her for it's Viagra back in the day.
Okay.
She's a god of love.
Gotcha.
Johnny, the sticking it to you. Yeah, all that fun stuff.
Drink less of that awful wine that you're making at the time, and it'll probably do you better than praying to this goddess.
This goddess, yep. So in Greece, it was known to be used as a symbol as far back as the 7th century, and even maybe back as the the 8th century as well. By the 6th century, it was a common symbol in its entirety, just common.
Yeah.
And
it all over
meant,
the place.
Yep, and it meant, and this is BCE, so this is before. Anyways, so this is a mutual respect, all that fun stuff. Around 300 BCE, Judaism adopts the pentagram as their symbol for Jerusalem, the holy city of Jerusalem.
That's why eventually the Hitler with the yellow stars.
Well, yeah, but that's the star.
Or no, because that was
David.
a six. That was a six.
Yeah, Star of David.
Okay, that's completely unrelated. Yeah, what was this one for then?
This is to represent the city of Jerusalem and the 5 Hebrew letters. So the points of the star would actually spell the 5 Hebrew letters for Jerusalem.
Okay, yeah, I think I've seen that.
Yeah.
It's on flags and stuff, right? Isn't it on a flag?
There are several nations, including today, that still use the pentagram as a symbol on their flag. Yes, you are correct. It also was used by the Greek philosopher Pherecydes, or Pherecydes. I can't pronounce Greek names. I can't pronounce English names. So, bear with me. And he used it to denote the 5 corners of where the chronos are placed in Earth for the cosmos to appear. So, this is these are philosophers.
The chronos, isn't that? Isn't that
maybe that's where they got the
Thanos?
Yeah, maybe that's where they got the Thanos for the
Power
snapping.
Stones or whatever.
Yeah, I did think about that until you just maybe that is the Kronos Power Stones. I was thinking that maybe this is where L. Ron Hubbard got his ideas for his woo stuff going on. We at Historic Hindsight are a-religious, and we would never make fun of a cult/religion thing.
Are you? What? Are you sure?
No, we always do. Anyways, and it was also
what am I doing here?
And it was also used by plenty of other spiritual, religious, and free thinkers like the Neoplatonism and the Pythagoreans. And yes, Johnny,
you got this.
Yeah, Pythagoreans. I got that one because Pythagoreans theory. So the whole mathematics stuff. Yeah, apparently there's a group called the Pythagoreans who were like this cult, mathematician cult, which has to be the lamest cult that you could ever belong into.
It's up there for sure.
It's pretty lame. And all these pretty much always use it to denote either health or like well-being or good wishes or
and that of
or
course was
fellowship.
because of all the triangles involved.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
With making a star. There's a lot of triangles within a star.
A lot of triangles within the stars. You are correct.
And they just figured out how to calculate the area of them, so they were very excited.
And Johnny, speaking of religions, and the only religions that matter, at least in the United States, if you ask most people, is our great Christian brothers, Johnny. They also celebrated the pentagram. Yeah. It was actually one of the first symbols for Christianity and was a little bit more important at the beginning than the cross was. So,
For Christianity?
For Christianity, yeah.
Wow. Well, but what now was that?
But that's a natural.
The whole Bible wasn't written until like 400 years.
300 years. Yeah, that, and then of course, if you look at it, like Christianity is a sect of Judaism. So if Judaism has the symbol the pentagram for Jerusalem,
they inherit a lot of the People got used to drawing it, essentially, and then they're like, we'll keep doing this.
Yep. Early Christians used it to symbolize the 5 senses of humans, sight, touch, smell, taste, all that fun stuff.
A lot more of those.
But whatever. And by the Middle Ages, it was actually a common symbol for the 5 wounds of Christ. Hell, by the 14th century...
I mean, they're just finding things that have 5 and just assigning anything that has 5 in a list to this. It's a symbol for it now.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Is that pretty much what's been going on through history?
Pretty much what's going on through history. If you want to symbolize something for 5, you're going to use a pentagram.
Yeah.
The 14th century poem, Gawain, Sir Gawain in the Green Knight, which decrees the knight's shield as having... No, I'm not going to read that damn poem. It denies that the shield that Sir Gawain had a pentagram on it. Mm-hmm. Why did it have a pentagram? Because he was given it by King Solomon, who said it represented the 5 virtues of a knight, and so he had to have worn it. Again, 5. If it's 5,
how convenient that there's 5 virtues of a knight and not 6 or 8 or 7 or something like that. Maybe just 4. I wonder if they had to come up with an extra one to make it make sense, so they're not giving people a square.
In Christianity, it's actually even featured in multiple cathedrals across the not the United States. We didn't have cathedrals, but across the world. Anyways, so several cathedrals across the world, including the 13th century Amiens Cathedral, uses it in one of its stained glasses, a big old upside down pentagram, which is a problem for
upside down.
Yeah.
What's the upside down one? Why is it upside down?
Where if the one point is pointing upwards, it's supposed to denote pointing to the heavens. If it's pointed downwards, it's supposed to denote not the heavens. Which could mean multiple things. Now, in the Amiens, the legend goes that it was pointed down because it's supposed to represent the Holy Spirit, who's coming down to Earth to spread the goodwill.
Oh, so it's like he's riding down on that point. It's not pointing down from here. He's on his way.
Yes, he's
down.
Yep.
Like a shooting star across the sky.
Shooting star across the sky. Yep, yes, exactly, Johnny. Through the Renaissance, this symbol began to take on a magical role through the works of Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa. He's a German physician, philosopher, and soldier who believed that the 5 points represented the 5 Neoplatonic elements. Again,
the 5 Neoplatonic elements.
Yeah.
Which were, was that
your earth, wind, fire, I'm assuming. I don't know. I didn't look too terribly into this.
Earth, wind, fire, water.
Heart. You can't forget about heart, Johnny. Where the powers combine. Captain Planet.
What's the 5th?
I don't know.
Somebody tell us what the 5th is.
It's heart. It's heart. It's from the Captain Planet, Johnny. Anyways, the magical angle is furthered by Asian influence, where Taoism, in the Taoist tradition, it represented the 5 phases of Taoism. So again, this whole magical mysticism thing coming from the East.
Also, don't get me, correct me if I'm wrong, but during the Renaissance, isn't that when wizards became very powerful and prevalent?
Yeah, the whole. Well, I mean, so
to slay the dragons, and they were doing the
if you watch if you watch Game of Thrones. Although
I've gone to some festivals.
Yes, the Renaissance.
I'm familiar with their work.
In the Renaissance period, there is. Because you got to remember, Christianity is relatively young, and paganism was around for forever. And a lot of pagans we now look at and be like, "Well, they're witches," but they're not. But I mean, sure.
Burner.
And so, when you're looking at discovering things like London or England, the English Isles, and there's a lot of paganism belief there that meshing in with Christianity, especially around the Renaissance period and stuff, and all that stuff is starting to rebuild. We're relearning the Dark Ages. We lost all this knowledge, and then the Renaissance we're rebuilding this knowledge. So in the Renaissance, we come back and we rebirth of some of these older religious traditions, and so magic starts to come around a little bit more again, or the idea.
Well, and it was
magic.
A lot of it was the turning to gold thing, right? Too the alchemy, whatever.
Yes, yeah. People started. I mean, really, what it boils down to is science starts to come around, and people are like, "Oh shit, that's magical."
Yeah, maybe I can use it to make money and scam people.
Well,
and so the pharmaceutical industry was born.
Yeah, pretty much. A point being to all of this is that history teaches that there's clearly more to the symbol than just the devil worshipping. And in fact, up to this point, not used.
None of the devil worshipping.
Devil worshipping, at least not that I could find.
All mostly gods worshipping or God worshipping.
God worshipping or well-being or virtues or all good things attached to these 5 points. Not really bad things.
Basically, the posters that you might find up in your cubicle.
Yeah. So at this point, you might be wondering to yourself, what happened? Why all of a sudden?
Why the devil? Was it cocaine?
Well, Johnny, it's the Civil War. It's not really the Civil War, but I have to say the Civil War because it's the 1860s. So in the middle 1800s to 1860s. So it
happened during the Civil War.
Yes. So
in America, or
in the world, but yes, it does spread to the United States. So. In the 1800s, the middle 1800s, around the 1860s, there would begin the conversation about the orientation of the pentagram and why, if it's facing upward, it's good; if it's facing downward, it's bad. And it all is boiled down to
people started to like discuss what the symbolism of all of it was.
Yes,
and they're like, well, maybe we need to kind of solidify how we're all using this so we can know who's good, who's bad.
Yep. You are right, Johnny. So this all spurred on by one person alone. This Eliphas Levi or Alphonse Louis, depending on how you want to pronounce it, depending on what you want to use his name, because he was a French aristocrat.
Those are two different names.
Yeah. Eliphas Levi or Alphonse Louis. Well, one of them is his birth name, and then the other name is like his
Christian name,
his Catholic name. And this is a guy who wrote multiple books on magic and occultism. Was really popular in that realm, and was really popular in. in the religious world, he attempted to become a Catholic priest, and it did not work out for him. Now there are two things. One belief is that he just quit. Like he's like, all right, this priest thing's not for me. I don't want to do it. And the other one is that he got kicked out because Catholicism is very strict, and they have rules that you have to follow. And they have rules you're supposed to follow, and if you don't follow them, that's fine, but you have to keep your mouth shut about not following them and disagreeing. Really, what it boils down to is you can't disagree with the Pope. And so what had happened is Alphonse Louis, he didn't keep his mouth shut, and he had some really kind of wacky out there ideas about devil and occultism and magic worshiping, and the church was like, yeah, we don't. That's a bit too much. Can you just, like, it's cool that you have those beliefs, but can you just, like, keep your mouth shut? And since he couldn't keep his mouth shut about it, they're like, yeah, you can't.
So he was like, he was worshiping the devil, or
he was
interested
interested in symbolism and the meaning behind symbols.
Okay.
And
the Catholic Church didn't like that?
Well, because he was.
They do.
Yeah, but he was talking about
the
like
crucifix.
He was talking about
it's
the witchcraft things that he was talking about, and the occult and all that fun stuff. That's the problem with the Catholics.
When aliens invade the Earth, good luck explaining the difference between.
Between the difference of these, so he leaves. He goes out and then he abandons the priesthood path at the ripe old age of 24, and he then turns on the Freemasons as well around the same time period. Why might he be turning on the Freemasons, Johnny? Well, the Freemasons were using the
don't know. What are the Freemasons even doing?
They're using the pentagram as one of their symbols for one of their orders, and it's upside down. Okay. Keep that in mind in a little bit here. But the Freemasons were actually excommunicated from the church, from the Catholic Church. They were, for whatever reason, and I'm not going to get into it because I didn't look it up enough, but for whatever reason, at some point, the Catholic Church says, if you're a Freemason, you can't be a Catholic because you guys are nutters. And so since the Freemasons...
like their just beliefs didn't jive
I guess,
to some extent or whatever, or traditions or whatever.
And so since the Freemasons got excommunicated, they also, rightfully so, didn't really like the Catholics. So they're like, if you're a Catholic, you can't be a Freemason. And so...
the rift between the two groups.
So Alphonse Louis didn't like that, and since they were anti-Catholic, they must be evil. And so he also claimed that they held secret knowledge that they refused to give up about symbols in the origins of man and all that fun stuff. And because they held these secrets, and because they were evil, because they were anti-Catholic, then everything they do must be evil, including things like the symbol of a pentagram.
So he's mad because he thinks they have secrets they won't tell him about symbols.
Yes.
And okay, so just tell me about your symbols. And they're like, no, we don't know anything. We're not telling you even we did. And he's like, well, then you're evil, and your symbols are evil too, and you worship the devil. That was it.
That's pretty much it. And so then he started to say that if you turn the pentagram upside down with 1 point facing down and 2 points facing up, it symbolizes the devil, Johnny, which is ironically just how the Freemasons use it. So I'm sure there's no correlation there at all about his justifications for making them evil. And he says, oh, go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just going to ask, what about if it's on its side?
He doesn't ever denote what if it's on its side or not. I guess because no matter what angle,
left or right.
Well, I guess I don't know. Well,
he never point up, down, left or right.
Yeah, he doesn't.
That's the one we're talking about.
Yep.
It can point that way.
Yeah, it can point that way or that way. Yeah, he doesn't.
But so what do you? That's just nothing. So this guy is obsessed with. Is that? That's what the Freemasons know. That's what it is. That's why he was mad that they wouldn't tell him about it.
Because he discovered that it must have been evil. Because that's why they're using it that way. With the 2 points facing upward, it represents the triumph of matter over the spirit and is the goats of lust attacking the heavens with its horn. That's why, when you see it in these bullshit, like, if you ever watch, like, murder mysteries from the 90s, there's always some kind of occultist element. And then when you do watch that, and there's the media who's like, it's the devil worshippers, there's always, like, a pentagram with, like, a goat's head in it. And that's why.
Oh, yeah. I can't. And so the two horns up are the goats attacking the heavens?
Yeah, the goat's horns attacking heavens, yeah. Yep. Yep.
And the goat, of course, representative of the devil, because at some point he was assigned goat-like characteristics through some writing, right?
Yeah. You go look at
an author.
Yeah, look at our Krampus Christmas special. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
talked about some of that. And
Look
there.
at that retention, Tommy.
Yeah, there you go. You got it. Yeah.
It was almost there.
But he did maintain that the upward-facing pentagram was the seat of wisdom and good fortune. So.
Oh. How nice.
Yep. So based on
was that the one he was using at the time?
Yeah, it was the one he was using at the time. So based on this viewpoint alone, this is where we get the pentagram becoming evil. So essentially what happens
And what year was it? When was this?
He was doing this all in the 1860s. And most people didn't give a shit. But in the 90s, for some reason, there's a spur of like interest in the occult and witches and devils from like the late 70s all the way up and through the 90s. Really popular up in the 90s.
Oh, because of heavy metal music, AC/DC, Black Sabbath, they all brought it in, right? Tenacious D.
Yeah, and if you were born in the 80s, like me and Johnny were, or before, you remember that when you were watching TV in the 90s, if there was ever any kind of thing that bad happened, the media would like claim that there was some kind of teenage cult worshipping devil society that was running around, and they would show
devil worshipping cults.
They would show like, and people started graffitiing pentagrams everywhere, and they would show pictures of the graffiti pentagram, which is just some dumb kid going do 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 do. Yep. Like when they try to spray paint the swastika and fuck it up.
Just an early troll like that's like, oh, I heard about this pentagram thing.
So it must be evil.
So the media demonized it.
The media demonized it.
And also, I think the big thing was, and I don't even know how much truth there was to it, but I always heard that every single Halloween you had to lock up any black cats that you had. You couldn't let them out because kids were going around and then sacrificing them to the devil, and I assume putting pentagrams with candles on the corners and them in the middle, or whatever, the cat in the middle.
Yep. And then you light it on fire or whatever, do whatever. The pentagram, not the cat. The pentagram, not the cat.
All sorts of awful things. I'm guessing the cat burned.
You drink. I think you're supposed to drink the cat's blood. Anyways, now a lot of this does stem from.
I never did that.
Well, at least the girlfriend you had probably did. Anyways, so there was there is actually some slight connection with the whole pentagram coming back in this late 70s up through the 90s, and part of that was the game Dungeons and Dragons became really popular, and parents couldn't understand their nerdy kids that went down to the basement to play this game that they didn't understand, and since it talked about like witches and magic and mystical things, that it must be worshiping the devil, so they attach all of that with that, and there was this fear-mongering. Just like when I was growing up, there was a fear-mongering about the card game. Harry Potter. Well, that's
Magic the
Magic the Gathering is where I was going with it. But yes, Harry Potter for the younger millennials,
for the Zoomers,
and for the Zoomers. Yes, and it's just the most weird, obscure. It's like a parent doesn't understand.
It's like Will Smith
what
said.
The interest of the kid is, so it must be evil. Parents just don't.
Yeah.
So it must be evil, and then the media jumps on it. It's like, it is evil. They're worshiping the devil while they're playing Dungeons and Dragons. Now, if you know,
I mean, obviously that's what the game is. No, they're rolling dice and fighting fake trolls. That
yes,
the Dungeon Master
I know some friends of mine that played Dungeons and Dragons. I never played Dungeons and Dragons myself. I did play Magic the Gathering, but never played Dungeons and Dragons myself. And I can assure you, from the friends that I had that played it, and everybody that I've known who's ever played it, they're not going to hurt anybody. They're just not.
They're fine.
They're fine. And it's
they
like
would be happy to welcome you into their guild.
Play. Yeah, they would. They would.
Give you a character sheet. You could build your character out.
I did.
A lot of fun.
I did come close to playing Dungeons and Dragons once, and I did create the character in my head. It was a bearded midget dwarf tranny elf, whose name was Trixie.
I feel attacked.
Well. You don't have boobs, Johnny. I even built.
I felt like the base inspiration for that, Tommy. I feel like you might have been. I might have been the starting point.
And it was gonna be a bard that also had the ability to shoot guns, and I even made a character, like a little plastic character. I hadn't had it built yet, but I did make it. So one day I will play Dungeons and Dragons with Trixie, the half elf dwarf. It'll totally happen. But essentially, like I said, through the 80s, 90s, anything non-Christian was viewed as evil, and so witches were definitely evil. And since pentagrams were associated with witches, they must also be evil, regardless of the fact that they're all over our cathedrals. We'll just just ignore that and chalk it up to old pagan Christians. And regardless of what happened for thousands and thousands of years of the symbol, we must make it evil to the point now where we have, and this is where we come full circle, and we're going to end it, where we have people who are so offended by the pure view of the symbol that they unfollow a really shitty YouTube channel that clearly doesn't take anything seriously and just makes fun of everything.
That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week when we talk about the Titanic.